Can I become a karting champion, and what can I teach you about racing and fundamentals of racecraft in the process? That's the premise of this video and this series, as I've entered an actual karting championship. It's an 8-round championship with loads of races, and I'm going to share the whole story with you, give you some secrets of racing. I just can't wait. I'm so excited to do this. I'm going to explain a lot more about what's going on, but let's start off with the start here. You can see there's a bit of a concertina. Someone didn't fully accelerate, and it's caused a lot of jostling. And we're starting at the back. Now, this was an 18 kart grid for this particular race, and right now I think we might be in last position. So we want to move up here, but it's not quite exactly how it seems. Why? Now have a look at the guy in the blue race suit here and the white helmet just ahead of us on the right hand side. To here, just the next kart in front. He is a heavyweight. He is in my class. I am in the heavyweight class. There are 2 classes in this championship, lightweights and heavyweights. So for the championship, I'm racing the heavyweights, and we can see here that he is pretty obviously a heavyweight. He's actually a really fast Australian karter, and I think he's a little bit heavier than me. So that's going to be a really good battle throughout the series. Now you can see ahead of us here, we can try and work out if there's any other heavyweights. But as we go over the line here for lap 1, we're actually going to finish this lap in 16th. So there's 2 karts behind us we saw overtake. So we were in last place. Now we're in 16th overall. And we'll see where we're going to end this race respected to the other karts, but also perhaps more importantly in our class. Now I just want to say that this is actually round 2 out of the 8-round championship. Why? Because you can afford to miss 1 round in the season. You give you a drop round where it's okay. 1 of the 8 you can miss. I did it in my first round, got out of the way. So we're now doing every single round to the end of the season. It's round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is round 2. So this guy's going to come back up the inside. Wow. Look at that. And I'm going to try and hang it. Can we hang it around the outside here? You can actually try and stay late on the brakes and just get up the inside there. But I wasn't quite able to do it. And this is the sprint race of round 2. So the format of this round is a sprint race and then a Grand Prix. So very similar to what you have in sprint race Grand Prix weekends. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to explain that for every video that I do in this series. So now you can see here the heavyweights, we're sort of started at the back. That's probably because qualifying over 1 lap we would be slower. Why is that? Now I just want to show you here, because if I remember, yeah, look at that, a little bit of a concertina again. And my rival here, he ends up hitting the bumper of the yellow kart ahead, loses momentum, and I go up the inside and get the position and get ahead of him crucially in the heavyweight category. Now, why are the heavyweights slower over 1 lap? Well, because we're heavier and that's more weight. The power to weight ratio of the kart gets worse. We're in 4-stroke Sodi karts here. I really love these karts. Now, this is the first karting championship I've entered for a very long time, actually. I used to do Club 100. And I never really felt super familiar with the Club 100 karts. They're very finely tuned, probably held to a higher standard than the karts here at Daytona, but I just they never fitted like a glove to me. Whereas these Sodi karts, I really enjoy driving them. There's a few ergonomic features. I'm quite tall and I fit into the kart when everything's pushed back and forwards to give me the maximum space. I love the steering wheel. The rectangular sort of GT style steering wheel is amazing for me. I much prefer that than the circular ones. I don't get any blisters here. And also I love the way that the kart drives. It's more of a GT kart than a prototype kart. Think of the 2-stroke karts like Club 100, or you see just down left hand side the D-Max karts Daytona. They're 2-stroke karts. They have a very sharp response, very quick to accelerate out of corners. And they can get you out of trouble, but there's ways you can manipulate that. Whereas these GTs, you basically have to drive smoothly. So I'm going to call these Sodi karts a GTs, probably slip of the tongue. As we're going to try and get up the inside here, see my smoothness through that very fast corner has rewarded me as we get another position here. So we haven't lost any positions in the race, we're just gaining positions. First race of the season, that's good news. And although I'm in a separate class for these lightweights, I really do want to race these lightweights, and we're going to see that through the course of this championship, whether I can start to learn the intricacies of the car and manipulate it in a way that I can actually overcome this weight disadvantage, this extra ballast that essentially I'm carrying. So you can see the guy ahead of us here. He's obviously very light. You can just see by his stature, but he's looking over his shoulder a lot. We might be able to catch him. See here, I'm dipping my head, so I'm sort of trying to get a little bit more aerodynamic. Whether it makes a difference or not, you can look at the data here, so feel free to see the speedometer on the left-hand side and compare it to laps when I'm doing that and not doing it. And this is a 18 or 17 lap race anyway for the sprint. We're sort of approaching halfway through already, and you can see that the pack of karts I should say, the lightweights just going around the corner there on the right hand side, they are just eking away. So I'll have a look here at the lap times and I'll compare against what the best people are doing on this lap, because I've got them all printed out in front of me here. So see that 54.2 karts around me. So the drivers that won this race, or are going to win this race, doing 53s and 53 deads actually. So the lightweights here about a second quicker than me at the moment, and then even with the weight disparity of the lightweights at 75 kg and the heavyweights at 90 kg, someone's had a bit of an issue here. That 15 kg shouldn't be anywhere near a second. I don't know what it should be in the dry. I mean, it's all very subjective. You put a heavy Fernando Alonso in this car, it's going to be quicker than any lightweight, but I say it's going to be a few tenths, maybe up to half a second. You could say, if you want to be generous to me. Now this guy here is sort of fallen back, and he might have come into a tangle. So psychologically, are we going to be able to sort of get on his bumper while he's recovering? Let's see. He might be faster than the guy ahead, but the guy ahead might be lighter, so that might cause some interesting, again, sort of concertina effects. So to put my head down here, tuck over the line, as that was a 54.1, which was our fastest lap of the race so far. So we'll see if we can get in those 53s. If we can get in the 53s and the really fast guys are doing 53 deads at the fastest, then I'll take that for the first race of the season. Remember, again, this is a sprint race, so this is for championship points, but there is going to be a full GP after this, and it's a full GP where you get the round trophy as well. So big old trophy at the end if I can win in heavyweights, but also every round an opportunity to pick up silver. I see a lot of people on the left-hand side here supporting. The paddock really busy as well. Premiership footballers in the mix. I saw lots of business executives as well, so parents, I should say, of their kids who obviously spending their Saturday and Sunday mornings going karting, which is a pretty cool way to do it. Looks like it's not going to rain here, by the way, for this race, and we'll see in this series of videos how the rain is going to affect things, because it can... Oh, look at the way I feel like we caught up there. Just absolutely on rails through that first corner, trying to nail it through the hairpin as well. They've been battling. I think there was a bit of tapping on the helmet, which is my sort of like... I'm going to be honest, I'm getting older. It grinds my gears when people tap their helmet. It normally sends me into a mild fury. So, especially if someone looks back at me and then taps their helmet, so that's my weak spot. I'll just put it out there. But we've definitely caught up here against these lightweights in the first race, and hopefully we're only going to get faster. So the question is now, can we keep up? Karting very fatiguing as well, and I remember coming back from this race and just aching all over, just bruises all over my body where I'm getting bashed around in the seat because I was not kart fit at all. We need to get kart fit, and I love this first corner at Daytona Sandown Park. And I have to say, by the way, this is not sponsored by anyone. It's not sponsored by Daytona. It's not sponsored by Sodikart. I haven't received anything for free here. I've paid for everything just as I always have at Daytona. So I'm not paid to say anything one way or the other, but I feel like they have set up this championship in a nice way. And I've had issues before in the D-Max karts, two-stroke karts with the parity. Had some really bad issues with the parity. But in the Sodi karts, it just seems to be a little bit more equal. So I'm a happy bunny here going karting in this karting championship. And you can see we're going to head over for lap 12. Might strictly be lap 11, but you can see there that the first lap basically counted my formation. So, and hopefully you like the overlay as well, by the way. So you see we dropped off a little bit here, but turn one might be a corner. And we sort of sense if we're getting visibly closer, maybe into turn two. See, I'm able to keep it tight, quite tight. I've got a lot of grip in these karts. And by the way, the other thing I like about driving these Sodi karts is that every kart, see I'm in kart number 7 here as I tap the steering wheel, has a very different handling feel. You wouldn't believe how different the handling is. Some of these karts feel like sort of BMW rear-wheel drive road cars, very tail happy. Some of them feel like four-wheel drive, absolutely planted cars. Some of them feel like front-wheel drive touring cars, like very understeery. Like they feel very different. Obviously, they're not that heavy, these karts, relative to my body weight. So where my body weight is placed makes a big difference to the handling of the kart. But they do often feel like they're rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. Obviously, they're all rear-wheel drive. Just want to make that clear. So the engine is at the back and on that axle, but they do feel very differently. This kart here looks quite balanced. How can I say that? Well, I'm not doing a lot of counter steering. If I had an oversteery kart, you might have seen me end up doing a lot of counter steering. Whereas here, I'm able to turn into the corners and probably being a little bit too smooth, actually, I have to say. And you can see here, by the way, there's a group of karts ahead, lightweight karts. So what position are we in right now? Let me just double check. So right now, we are in P14. So we're in P14 out of 18, but we are ahead of the heavyweight, who was the only other heavyweight in this race, by the way. So in this race, there was only one other heavyweight. So we're ahead of them. They might be just a couple of tenths behind us. I don't know. I don't look over my shoulder in karting. I just like to keep the blinkers on and go forward. That's just my style. But if you have a look, you can sort of see when you go around Hairpin. You see there's a group of karts up there. And I remember desperately thinking, hang on a second. If they are fighting really hard, I might just be able to get into that scrap and pick up a few more positions. Because they've really fallen backwards. Have a look. That's a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe there. And then 7, 8 behind them. So I'm P14. There's 8 karts there. You know, we're talking, you know, really top half of the field if I can get into that. So we're going to see as we're going to go over lap 15 and that group starts to go through turn 1. We're definitely catching that pack of lightweights. Love to see it. Great feeling. And that keeps me energized as we go through turn 1 into turn 2. As I like to keep my tight line, I almost like to sort of keep it on the white line if possible. And over the hairpin, I'm keeping a wide berth. The rules with regard to curbing change in this championship through the season. I'm pretty sure here the rules here were to stay off the curbs entirely. Because you can see the lines I'm taking are to stay off the curbs. As I felt like I heard another kart behind me. I might have been wrong there. And that means I'm not taking the lines that you're going to see in other videos, where you can imagine if I'm going to smash the curb, I'm going to buzz this curb on the left-hand side here, going to open this one up, going to smash the curb on the inside here. No point running wide really for me, it just sort of detracts from your acceleration. You see I'm really trying to go for it. So lap times are relatively consistent. We did do a 53. Come in here, might just nibble the curb on the inside, on the apex. And then I don't really run wide too much here. I don't go on the curb here, but just try and keep it on the white line. This hairpin, obviously, if you're going to use the curb, you're going to go all over the curb on the hairpin on the inside. As we had a little bit of a funny moment. And in fact, it's sort of broken up ahead of us. And then this corner here, really, if you attack that curb, because there's a little bit of geo-block even on the inside of the curb, you can gain a lot of time. So maybe other drivers are being a bit more savvy than me in using the car. I mean, look at that pack now. It's really come together, and they're going to get a last lap warning, which is not going to be this lap, but it's going to be next lap is going to be the last lap warning. And we'll see if that is going to send them in a frenzy, because you can see they're all sprawled over the straight. And very easy to get into a tangle here where your kart can end up in the barrier. So I might be ahead. I might be the first heavyweight here, but this is just for championship points. There's no race trophy here. It's just a sprint race, and you know the next round might have 10 heavyweights. So I want to maximise the points I'm going to get here, because I'm going to get maximum heavyweight points. But also, I just want to race everyone, and I feel as though that if I really become good enough, and you know I've got all the equipment I need here, the ergonomics fit, I like the car, I like the style, I like the track, then hopefully we can mix it with lightweight. So keep tuned for that, as we're going to head on to the last lap here. So there will be a last lap board coming up. You can see it on the digi flag, as they call it. It says last lap, and I checked the watch as well, which is basically gives me a timer. It's recording the GoPro here. By the way, I shot this video in 30 FPS, and the next one's in 60 FPS. So make sure you let me know in the comments which one you prefer, so I know. 30 makes it a little bit more cinematic. 60 is not quite as crisp, but it's smoother. So you let me know. And here is that group there. And I think we're going to fall just short this time. Just short. So, but rate my race in the comments. I'd love it if you can rate every race, if you can just rate it in the comments, like how you think I did. I'm going to do it as well. I'm going to rate this one for me. I'm going to rate it a 6 out of 10. I think a 5 would be too low because, you know, I've done what I need to do in heavyweights. But I can't go higher than a 6 because I'm finishing this race in P14. So there we go, over the line. And now it's time for the Grand Prix, which is, if it's uploaded, it will be in a card now. So go and watch it now. And if not, you just got to put the notification on, you get it. And I'll see you in that video.